Alright, welcome back to another Battletech video where we take a look at the Wolverine WVR-6R, and we'll be using Mechwarrior Online to take a look at it in-game. So a little bit of history first. This is a medium mech sitting at 55 tons. The standard armament in the 6R is the autocannon 5, the SRM-6, and one medium laser. The Wolverine was developed as a fast strike battle mech, one which could take part in missions requiring speed and firepower, but too hazardous for light recon mechs. Although meeting all the requirements for just such machine, the Wolverine has since become known for its versatility and is considered a jack of all trades throughout the inner sphere. With the same electronics package as the Phoenix Hawk and mobility that allows it to keep up with most medium mechs, the Wolverine is often used for command purposes when working with medium units, in spite of the terrible visibility and cramped cockpit due to the placement of the head-mounted weaponry. The mech was introduced in 2575 by the Kalin Industries for the newly formed Star League Defense Force, in the lead-up to the Reunification War, where it served with distinction. Afterwards, it was approved for use by the Great Houses and became quite common on the battlefields during the Succession Wars after the fall of the Star League. Besides being produced by Kalin factories on Nanking and Thermopolis, Free World Defense Industries and Victory Industries later acquired the rights to build Wolverines from their plants on Gibson and Marduk, respectively. The Free World League was thus the largest user of Wolverines, followed thereafter by the Federated Sons turned Federated Commonwealth. The Fourth Succession War brought about minor changes when the House Davian captured Nanking from the Capellan Confederation but lost Marduk to the Draconis Combine. In the end, the exchange was a net gain for the Federated Sons thanks to the larger Nanking factory, with the Confederation the clear loser. House Davian, Merrick, and Kurata all introduced new variants of the Wolverine which exploited the recent recovery of lost tech just prior to the clan invasions. During the combined Ghost Bear War, House Kurata found itself running short of equipment when they lost Marduk and Alnir to Duke James Sandoval's surprise attack, although DCMS forces managed to recapture Marduk in mid-3064. Inspired by Vicor Industries' Project Phoenix initiative, Victory Industries went about scouring the entire Combine for any old Wolverine chassis in order to perform a complete strip, disassembling those in the worst shape of their parts and applying a modernized factory refit to the rest. By 3067, this effort had virtually picked the Draconis Combine clean of older Wolverine machines, but the new WVR-8K was so well received it inspired the production of brand new models. The Federated Sun was similarly inspired by the success of the WVR-8K to perform their own updates on their aging design, although the League themselves, still prolific Wolverine users, had yet to institute what turned out to be the end of the long and costly program. So as we can see, we're going to be talking today about the WVR-6R, which is the original. And again, it does come with the autocannon 5, SRM-6, and medium laser. So what we're seeing here in the footage, just real quick, we're showing you, we can kind of see a little bit of the cockpit view. And the autocannon 5 is on the right hand side, so you're going to be on the right gun. There's no weapons on the left hand side. There is a shoulder mounted SRM-6 in the left, and you have a center torso mounted medium laser. So keep that in mind when you're peeking around corners, what side your guns are on. I found that as I was driving the mech and getting used to it over several matches, that you have to learn exactly where that gun fires so that you're not hitting the edges or tops of buildings or tops of ridges. Here I'm kind of supporting a group, and we know that there are some mechs around this corner, and I come up and want to go ahead and see what's over here, and all of a sudden we see their whole team. So this is a good example of keeping that right hand, but then you can see, as you skirt back around, your weapons are going to hit those edges there. Now this is a medium mech at 55 tons. And what I have found is the armor is not strong enough to stand up to really brawling. So what you're going to want to be careful of is you're going to want to pick your spots. You're going to want to make sure that you're supporting with your lance and you're staying with your team. you're doing ambush tactics, and you're using your mobility. One thing about this mech that's really nice is it does move at a average of about 80 kilometers per hour right off the set, and that's fast for a medium mech that hasn't been modified in Mechwarrior Online. Now, talking about it in Battle Mech, it's a fantastic mech when you're playing the Battle Mech tabletop game. The AC5 gives you some nice long-range, strong hitting power of a gun with no heat generation typically. You have a medium laser for close in up to that 200-meter range, and you have an SRM-6 to really pack a punch for anything that's going to try to come up right on you. So in the Battletech game, it's a very versatile, very strong chassis that you can go ahead and use, and Wolverine's a very respected medium mech. In Mechwarrior Online, I would say it's pretty average. I think the thing that it has in spades is mobility, and I think a pilot who understands that mobility probably better than me can exploit that to make this mech really shine. This is not one that's going to step up over the ridge and try to brawl. This is not one that's going to be in a frontline assault. This is going to be more of a maneuvering type mech. So let's go ahead and just finish this out, and let's move on to the next thing I want to show you. I want to take a look at the loadout of the chassis, give you some ideas of what you can do with this mech chassis inside Mechwarrior Online. So let's take a look at the loadout characteristics of the Wolverine. If we go ahead and go into our mech lab here, it'll bring up some of the statistics. And as you can see, we have our right arm, right torso, head, left torso, left arm, and our legs are down here at the bottom. And we are packing the AC5 on our right arm, as you can see here, including the ammo. We have just heat sinks in the right torso, not much else. We do have the medium laser is center mounted in the chest. This allows you that if you lose right arms, left arms, torsos, which can happen in mechs quite often, you still have a centerline weapon, as you can see here. We have a standard 275 engine, and we have about 40 armor in the front. And we still have some available armor that we can move around here. Moving on to the left torso, we have our SRM package, which is our SRM-6 with a set of ammo. And then we have nothing in the left arm, which basically is about 32 points of a shield. So when you're doing your torso twist, you want to go ahead and move your left arm into the oncoming fire to absorb whatever you can, and then bring your guns online. This does come equipped with jump jets, as you can see here. So this mech, built in Mechwarrior, the Wolverine, is about really mobility, because it doesn't really feel like in matches that I've played so far that you can really stand up to very many shots. You can't really even duel with other mechs in this configuration. Obviously, if you could check online and find some other builds that take this chassis and then redo it with, different upgrades and setups, you might come up with a much higher damage value medium mech. But in this configuration, which is the original Wolverine 6R configuration, you really have some long-range firepower matched with some close-range firepower, but the medium laser kind of fires so slow, and the rearm of the SRM-6 is slow. It's not an up-close dueling mech. So you're going to want to maneuver. You're going to want to stay with your group or your lance. You're going to want to support other mechs. You're not going to want to be the one trying to single out mechs if you can. Ambush tactics are going to be your friend with your jump jets, and your speed of getting up to 80 as an average speed on a medium mech is pretty good without having to go to an XL engine or anything. So it's a fast mech if lightly armored and likely light firepower equipped for you to be running in Mechwarrior. Now you do have some options, and I'm not going to try to tell you how to build it. I'm not going to tell you how to change it to make it the best. I'm not an expert in that area, but I just want to point out a few things that you can see here. So the right arm does have your hard points here, and it looks like we still have 2 available ballistic hard points. So we're using one for the AC5, but we do have an additional one for a possibility of something being here. We have our AMS can be load it into our right torso if you want to go with an AMS configuration of some sort. Our head has no, the laser is equipped here, so we're not able to equip anything else. No hard points. It's just on the body, so it's already been equipped. So it's one laser point there. And then the left torso has two, as you can see here, missile capabilities. And we're using up one of those. And then the arm, we're not seeing anything listed. So let's go back out a second to home. And typically what you can see a little bit better the actual configuration. Well, if we go to select a mech, I think you'll see it a little better. So when we click over it here, you can see. So the loadout tells you what you have, but your hard points up here in the top right, when I move my mouse, it's going to be listed right about here. You can see there are 2 ballistic hard points, 1 energy hard point, 3 missile hard points, and 1 possible AMS. So you can kind of mix it around. You could go a little bit more heavy with a missile configuration with this one than the other chassis for the Wolverine. You're only going to get 1 energy, so it's never going to be an energy platform. So you might remove that and move to something else and either go maybe more guns or more missiles in this chassis. Let's go back to our mech lab just real quick. So, and it looks like they're all going to be located in this left torso, your missiles. So we're using 1 and we still have 2 left. SRM6s are pretty big, as you can see here. Let's take a look. So you're going to use up 3 tons plus the ammo, which is a ton. So that's about 4 tons right there. Your medium laser is typically a ton. And then your AC5 is really eating up your ton, 8 tons plus the ammo. So you're using up about 9 tons there. And I'm betting the jump pack, the jumps, yeah, there's a ton there and a ton there. If you're, depending on if you want to remove the jetpacks or not. So you do have a little wiggle room with playing around. That's not doing anything for upgrades or playing around with that, upping the crit slot. But your armor is low enough that I'd be very careful with, you know, exposing your mech to getting crits in that. What you might do is you might drop the either the autocannon 5 down to maybe a 2. Let's take a look at our ballistic weapons here. So with an AC2, you're down to 6 tons plus at least 1 set of ammo is 7. Whereas the 5, you're at 9 to use that. So you've got a lot of tonnage going there to use those. You could maybe switch and go to machine guns to tear away armor and an up-close kind of mech. But then you really only have missiles and a medium laser, or 1 laser. And it can only be a single slot laser, I'm betting. Yeah, with the way this is going to be set up, you're not going to be able to get the big lasers listed in this center torso. There's too much in here. So you're really limited in this original chassis. So you just have to play around with it, or you're going to have to really just understand your mech and kind of tailor your tactics to what you have. Sometimes you don't want to make something do... How do I want to say that? Sometimes you don't want to make a mech do the wrong job just because that's the job you want it to do. You want to find the job the mech is already made for. Hopefully that makes sense. It probably doesn't. It probably confused everybody, but sometimes you have to really apply your tactics over just sheer firepower or some sheer large characteristic of the mech, like, you know, a lot of speed, a lot of armor, a lot of firepower, any one of those. And then maybe your tactics don't have to be as strong. But in this mech, I think you're going to have to use a lot of cover. You're going to have to use a lot of teamwork. Stay with your lances. Support fire. Stay on target. Don't get separated. And, you know, just fight with it. In Mechwarrior, it's going to be a very average mech for a medium. But it is fast. So that is one thing. So if you like a faster mech on the medium side with a little bit more armor, then this might be the mech for you. So those are some of your options. You can always check the forums to see some of the builds that people are doing with the Wolverines. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some footage here. And while we're doing that, we're starting up. So the first thing you can notice is in the historical description, the actual view from the cockpit wasn't very good. But as you can see in Mechwarrior, it actually is... okay, it's as good as just about most of the mechs you're going to drive. Here I just switch out to that camera mode just so you can get a look and you can see the silhouette. So we're going to follow our group in here, and we're on the Tourmaline map. So it's got some heat generation. This mech, I don't find that I have any heat generation problems. Just taking a few ranging shots out there. A lot of times I might just shoot that laser, save the ammo, and it just helps my teammates see that I recognize somebody and I've seen something. And here's just a little use of the jets to get some maneuvering, as you can see there. So remember that when you're in the camera mode, though, you lose your mini-map and you lose a lot of targeting information and other thing that's going on. So typically, they basically call this a maneuvering camera. But when you want to fight, you want to be in the cockpit while you're fighting, typically. So here we're gonna the first clip here we're gonna see starts out pretty good, and then I make a mistake, and it's a mistake of not driving the mech the way it should be. And then our next clip after this one, we do it the right way. It happens to be on the same map, so that's nice. So here we are supporting, and we're taking some shots already. And you definitely want to move and get to cover. You do not want to just sit there and take shots. You don't want to be in front of any of your teammates or your lance mates there. You just want to help the designated target for your team. You want to use your right-hand side. So remember, if you're going to come out of cover, you want to come out of the right-hand side cover, as you can see there. So we're just using that. Autocannon 5 is really... The nice thing about the AC5 too, is that it actually kind of rocks the mech that it hits. So when those shells hit those mechs, it puts a panic into that mech pilot, and because they're coming in just one after the other, it shakes their mech, it rattles them for the most part. A really good pilot, understands that and doesn't get too worried. But you're not going to find a lot of those in just Mechwarrior when you're playing the public queues like I'm playing here. So we're trying to range out. We're trying to support. At this point, I'm doing pretty good. The idea is that I want to support. I want to target if I can. I want to make sure that things don't come up behind my heavier mechs here that have a lot of firepower. And I'm just trying to keep a look at that mini-map. I got, we can see an enemy out to the bottom left, but we got guys engaging him. I've got a guy behind me that's in my own lance, so he's going to let me know. And then immediately a guy pops up to my left there. So here's where I come in. So that guy was going to come in behind some of my assaults, and that could have been bad had I not been there, or this other guy, the catapult, been there, or it might have been Mad Dog. So this guy here, and I noticed this is where the mistake is. He hit me with 3 lasers there, and they're center mounted, and I should have recognized that. And I already have yellow center torso. And he's going to watch for me. So when I come up here and I want to get some shots on him, he starts to back off and then realizes his laser alpha shot can just tear right through my center torso. So knowing the amount of laser platform he was, I moved into a better range, and he had a ton of lasers on me. And I should have tried to be a little bit more careful having my center torso exposed like that. I should have did a couple of shots and then a torso twist to take that on the arm. So live and learn. I'm not the best pilot out there. That's just something I should have done. And then in this one, we're going to go ahead and again, we're going to follow our mechs. It seemed like I started on the same side in each of these matches. Each time I play Tourmaline, I'm always at this bottom area. We're going to go ahead and meet up with our the other 2 lances here. And we're going to fight right around that same area, amazingly enough. That seems to be a little hot spot for things to happen. So here's that group. I'm waiting to see which way they're going to go. There's a lot of firepower here in these heavies, and I can back them up. And I think in this match, I don't recall if we had assaults or not. We might have just had a light lance, basically a medium lance, and a heavy lance with very little assault.
Guys confused.
So
try F5.
We have a guy call out F5, so we all start to move there. And that's where we regroup. And then, yeah, we do have another group coming in on the right-hand side here. That's the assault group, I think, as I recall now. So I'm kind of thinking about where we're at. I'm using the cover. I'm getting used to knowing this area of the map since I've been fighting here quite often when this map comes up. and I'm staying below the ridge line, staying with my guys, and I want to meet up with that other lance to my right there because I don't want them to go unsupported. And in fact, I want them to know what they're about to get into. So here's where I'm going to use a little bit of that maneuverability to try to get an idea of what we're going to see here. So we're going to use the jump jets. This is a little bit of that command mode where you're just trying to peek out and just take a look to see what's out there. And I could see just a couple mechs, not too much popped up. Just looking. And I just want to make sure they're not right on the other side of that ridge, because if they were right on the other side of that ridge, then I'm going to want to let my guys know what's going on. They're far enough out that we're okay. It's just going to be a long-range snipe battle at the start. So now I'm going to move in to make sure that no lights or mediums come up behind these guys and start harassing them. So we've got the Atlas here, and I want to make sure that, you know, I keep these guys in the fight if I can. So we move up, and we're right in that same spot again. This is right kind of where we died. We're moving into position. They're starting to attack those guys to the left-hand side. We know there are mechs there, and what I'm thinking about is, at this point, typically you're going to see some type of flanker come around. So I'm waiting to see something like, you know, a light, like a Raven, a Jenner, you know, something like that comes squeaking around to get some shots. Because a lot of times what they'll do is they'll light us up with the lasers, or they'll at least target us so that the missiles can kind of rain in. And I want to make sure if that starts to happen, my guys know what's going on. So I'm watching, seeing what's happening, targeting, keep an eye out. We're in a good position. I can see where the other team is, and they are actually in that area, and there are a bunch of mechs coming around. So we get a call out on E6. There he is. That's what I was waiting for, that guy right there. So I want to make sure, and now we get a few more. King Crab comes out. Now I'm set perfectly on this right-hand side to let my AC-5 fire, let my laser fire, but then keep most of the rest of me not exposed. So again, I want to exploit the edge. I'm gonna exploit the edge. I'm gonna back these heavy mechs up.
3 assaults over here. Push up.
And we're just gonna keep kind of harassing these guys. So we're gonna move in. So guys are trying to squeak out. We'll throw some shots at them. We're getting the SRM-6s in there. Getting the AC-5s. We're getting the medium laser. And we can kind of fire just about everything without heating too bad. Now we're just really laying into these guys. Really laying in. Again, got to remember to always target. Sometimes in the heat of the battle, I even forget, and I was forgetting there. I should have had a guy targeted. Got some guys center lined. Got him cored.
Push just a Saccade in there now.
We're going to move the momentum forward. And I'm going to just squeak on this edge. I'm going to let these heavier mechs, these assault mechs, make that right side. I see the artillery strike. Thankfully, I didn't get hit by that. But I'm supporting, and I'm not necessarily pushing, which I think is what this mech is really good at. And it took me a lot of matches just to kind of figure it out, because a lot of times I like to run in and get into the fight. So I'm watching this guy, and I thought he was going to just fire from up there, but he ends up coming down and starts laying into our guys in the back. So unfortunately for him, I'm just laying into him, and he goes down pretty quick. Put a lot of good damage into him. Get some long-range shots here. Use our mobility. There's our jump jets. This guy on the back end side is the last one, and he's going to go down pretty quick before we get to him. There's one to the left that had died, and we're going back towards the right. And done. So that's it. I want to say thank you for joining, and we'll see you in the next one. Make sure you go ahead and put your comments down below. I'd like to hear back on what you guys think of the WVR-6R Wolverine. Also, if you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.